Well, hello everyone. Good early morning right here. I talk about here for the Miracle Senior, and basically this activity right here talks about is toward it, for anything what we call happy endings right here. And you have right here is I went ahead and drew right here some paintings right here of like a male and then a female right here. It's like if they were to fall in love, and then talk about like for any source of miracles. And I was thinking about it toward for my last post, talking about anything about what you call for job, between job interviews, and anything related to the fact about it's like to where that for knowing about for imaginable America or anything like that. But still though, you have right here talk about for Miracle Senior. And I want to do this activity right here of talk about for home and in love, and then you have right here talk about for happy endings. And if anybody warns us toward it, we may have seen it a number of times on the commercials, or maybe in the movies, or maybe in the storybooks, is toward it that whenever you're reading about a story, that usually that they say is toward it, yeah, that there may be some stories and some documentaries and some of what we call fairy tales, and then as well as anything what you call is like for TV shows or cartoons, that if there's no happy ending, and then more likely that there's going to be what's called kind of like a sad ending, or what you call ending that well, what do we call it for whenever that it's very confusing, that and I guess not every ending is going to have what you call, well, that makes sense. So if anybody warns us toward it, you see it a number of times on a few of those shows and movies is toward it whenever towards the end and then at the time you're like, well, they don't really make no sense because, really, I'm like, but still, that like with anybody that whenever they're going to be reading a story, and what I know is toward that and they live heavily ever after, the end or something like that, or once upon a time. But you see right here of I went and put together right here of like you say for like any source of digital designing work, that if you were to type in a word right here like I don't really have like a document to where that fit all of them, all what you call in a separate column or something like that. But still, that they have right here these words right here for home and in love, and you have right here is like the lips, and then the Valentine heart, and then you have right here is the tears. And I mainly want to talk about right here like for happy endings. And if anybody will warrant toward it, exactly about what are happy endings and what do they necessarily mean. So I can go ahead and yeah, if anybody warrants us that, yeah, go ahead and zoom in just a little bit right here, so that way we can see this right here. But because I know that sometimes you'll be able to see my work too, that if anybody warrants us that, yeah, like say, yeah, maybe if you're going to maybe be putting this up on your portfolio later on. But anyway, but you see right here is I went and drew right here as an example right here of a man and a woman, and let's just say if these were right here were like people that met each other. Let's just say if it was from a job or maybe on social media or something like that. And just think about it is to where that for anything about Miracle Senior is to where that maybe not all guys, not all gentlemen, and not all ladies are going to be in the best shape whenever they start a job or whenever they start learning something. And like Lord, sure, yeah, that anything relate to about miracles though, that how we describe miracles today, all what you call moments, is toward that we can remember, for anything what we call for impossible, anything surprising, and now I say for for happy endings, and I know, like with anybody, that whenever you start crying over situations like that, and like anybody say that you may have heard that before, to where if you're so happy you start crying or something like that, that if you're, and then somebody that may warrant, to where yeah, that, that I mean, why is it that, let's just say if a man were to look into a woman's eyes and then it's like, why to her, yeah, why is it that I can see my own reflection in your eyes or something like that? So if any gentleman that may warrant to her, especially with Valentine's Day coming up, it's like for what women seen in the men right there. It's like, yeah, how come I can see my reflection in your eyes? And if anybody say, yeah, doctors, maybe could explain a little bit too about what that's supposed to mean is to her. Yeah, well, does it mean necessarily mean is to her that they are looking at you, and sometimes though that even if it's job interviews or meetings, that if you're going to be talking to somebody there, and then they're looking at you, and at the time that you're like warning to her that. For whatever reason that they are looking at you and like say if it's an attractive way or just like say, hey, that you are a nice little fellow or something like that, or at the nice meeting you, or how long have you been attending these meetings, or anything that they may ask you, the gentleman in particular, but I have right here is a drawing I want to put together right here, and like with anybody, not anybody in particular, but still though that for anything about what you call between designing work, that you paint a picture of, you assume about what this person's going to look like, and then you start writing about his story, yeah, a story, and I know I also want to mention too about like say for like imaginary, like besides imaginary stuff, if it's going to be anything about his tour that imaginary friends. So if anybody say that, yeah, you thought that maybe that's what you call is just in your imagination, that you were imagining that you were going to the meeting, and then you were thinking about if there was any sort of job interview, then chances are that, oh, you're not going to get the job, you're not qualified. They looked at your resume, or if they go in and look at your resume, or yeah, you'll be lucky enough to if they even keep you in there for 20 minutes or so just to ask some questions and maybe just to get to know you a little bit more. But so far, it's like for Miracle Senior, that there are some jobs that that may more likely be titled for seniors. And you're like Warren, to where half the time, what does that basically mean whenever it's top for seniors? Does that basically mean is to where somebody with at least 5 or 10 years of experience who have been working for a business, who have what you call more knowledge about for what they do on in a database? And so let's just say they have right here for home and in love right here, zoomed in right here. You have right here's the lip, this right here, like a little design right there from a man and then a woman. You'll put the lips, and you have right here for professionals. So if anybody warns that, yeah, you have right here's the tears, but still that you see it in those movies a lot of times is to where that anything about what we call for happy endings, for miracles, especially in the have here for 2017. While I was typing that, I was also thinking about as to where that yeah, that if anybody say, yeah, what do you think it looks like in cursive, huh? And I mean that's just a thing that if we're going to be writing down anything, notes, or if it's anything about reminders or anything about his tour, that how the whole connection began, because anything on the resume, that it seems like for professionals that for like the size of the heart right here, and that have right here is a heart like a Valentine heart right here for for about professionals. That it seems like to where that, yeah, that the gentleman that may want to feel a part of the group at some point, but then it's like the ladies, it's like that, yeah, that they've been working there for the company. They started nearly 2 years before that you came to the business, and so it seemed like to where that there's like what you call that argument to where who makes the most money, or maybe if it's about for who has what you call the best knowledge, or maybe trust or something like that. But anyway, it seems like, yeah, requires a special bond, and like with anybody that may warrant toward it, that any type of bond between a male and a female. And So if anybody warns us toward it, for anything about happy endings, what they basically mean is toward it, for anything about maybe what the audience is, what everybody would expect to see is toward no matter how difficult the challenge is toward it you're able to find what you've been waiting for and that you're able to get you what you have been, what you love and like. For anybody say, yeah, you know that home is a four-letter word, right? Yeah, so is love. And like want to know, yeah, well, I want to know why lipstick is not, but or makeup, or maybe anything about what you call old-fashioned cologne, or anything about what you call the hair comb or whichever. But anyway, but talk about for professionals that it seems like at the time that whenever let's just say that if a man and a woman, if they met at one time, but then they reconnected, whenever that they were working at a job or something like that, and so it just seems like to where for this coming Valentine's Day, if anybody's going to be looking for a job, and then they wind up getting hired, and it seems like you're a total stranger to everyone, but then after about maybe 2 weeks or so of training, and then you may find somebody that met you at some point and think about us to where okay, I'm Miracle Junior, and then and you're Miracle Senior or you're Miracle Sophomore. I could what are you talking about? Well, that's like what you call is like a nickname I kind of gave for it because, for anybody who's going to be applying for a job, they kind of call it what's called senior upper class one or something like that. Or, senior, it's like you volunteer or something like that. You apply for a job and then at the time, like we say, is toward it. Yeah, the name of the job is going to be what's called for senior professional or something. So I guess if I'm going to be lower class, if I'm going to be what's called on lower level, I say compared to everybody else, is known by for miracle sophomore. So if anybody want toward it, how ways of how we can we describe senior. And like with anybody, that if they were toward it, how do you describe senior? And they say that, yeah, well, besides, you may have heard that name, for the first time whenever you were in high school or in school or some, grade like that. And but still, though, that for anybody, say, yeah, between if you were named after anybody in particular, but so far as for job reasons. But for anything about what's called for happy endings. And I guess the important reason to think about this also is to know it about is to where that for understanding a little bit more about each other. And I just really think that could be what's called the main focus is to where understanding about each other, about a man and then a woman. You have right here's a male and a female, or maybe a group of three men and maybe three women or so that they learn a little bit more about each other, as time goes on, and they are like say is toward it. It seems like that they get a better understanding about the whole connection, about the whole story of the matter, whenever that they what you call it, whenever things wind up getting settled, stuff like that. Anyway, I'm going to try to limit my time here, but just talk about for Miracle Senior is that they have right here for happy endings and talk about for professional. But if anybody warns us toward it, yeah, that sometimes though that whenever we cry, whenever tears start coming down from our eyes, from our eyebrows, whichever from our cheeks, that sometimes does that always mean that something hurts, something that you feel pain, or does that basically mean is to where that incredible, I guess, the emotional feelings, and like with anybody that whenever you start crying, I guess that don't necessarily mean each and every time that you're sad or something hurts, but it basically means is toward that yeah, that that for whatever that's going on, that does any of your hard work matter to how to help somebody with whatever the situation's going on. So at the time, something to be proud of. At the time, if you just want to consider it as, to where, yeah, whenever you first started, that you didn't think that you were going to get the promotion. You're like thinking about, after about maybe a year, and then possibly that there's going to be what you call that special miracle that's going to go on. But other than that, talking about you for a Miracle Senior for 2017, I understand about the professionals, about the man and woman, and knowing about for how much did they learn about each other. But talk about for happy endings. But other than that, thanks for watching, Man Me 25, and have a great day.